In very near future, knowing how to use AI will be a big deal for engineers. To stay ahead, you will literally need to start using AI tools to work smarter and get more work done. And engineers who jump into AI and learn how to use it well will really stand out from the ones who don't bother with it. Now, here's one of the most crucial use cases of using AI as an engineer to learn faster and work faster. It's troubleshooting. I know from my experience, and this is true for all engineering roles actually, troubleshooting is more than half of your engineering work. I remember I would spend days on troubleshooting our self-managed Kubernetes cluster when various issues were happening, or troubleshooting our CI/CD pipeline issues. Now, it was a great learning experience. I would argue I learned probably the most about Kubernetes and Jenkins when I was troubleshooting and trying out different things, but it was still painfully long and a tedious process. So leveraging AI in such a tedious and time-consuming process is not only smart, but also helps you avoid the frustration. And as you work through the DevOps Bootcamp, you may encounter the same type of troubleshooting use cases as in real work, especially later in the bootcamp when projects get more complex, because we're building real-life DevOps processes. And using AI for those demos can actually speed up your learning and make it more efficient. Now, from DevOps Bootcamp, you already know that you have our support team to help you troubleshoot any issues or errors you might face during the demos, which kind of acts like your AI assistant. But as I said, what happens when you are dealing with this type of issues in your job, which you will inevitably encounter? And that's why you can see this as learning another technical skill on top of your actual DevOps skills. So let me show you a few ways you can use AI for troubleshooting in the bootcamp demos specifically. But of course, you can extend it to actual work use cases as well. And I'll demonstrate how even a general purpose AI tool like ChatGPT can help you improve your troubleshooting skills. But you can, of course, use engineering specific tools like GitHub Copilot, Amazon Q, and so on. The concepts are really the same. The first use case. Let's say you are getting an error after following the same steps as I show you in the DevOps Bootcamp demo project. But you can't figure out why your code is not working or showing the same results as mine. Well, sometimes when you type along the code or configuration that I show in the lecture, instead of copying the code directly from the repository, you might include additional characters like white space, or might miss an extra space in the indentation, for example, when working with YAML files. Or you might miss a bracket or a comma in your configuration, or your Docker Compose file may be wrongly formatted, or your shell script is missing something. And this is very simple but very frequent use case where you have one small syntax error that you don't notice that has you debugging the error for hours. And here is where you can use AI to speed up this process. So for example, let's say you wrote a bash script as I show in the demo, but you are getting an error. So when you have such an issue, you can use AI tool to immediately identify the problem instead of you trying to see what syntax error or what logical error you have made. So you can ask AI, here's my bash script that is giving me this specific error. You can provide the error message to AI as part of the prompt and ask it, analyze my script and tell me what the issue is. Simple as that. AI will then go through it and identify any issue that you have. So if it is a syntax error, like a comma missing or a semicolon or a bracket, whatever, AI tool obviously will immediately tell you that that's the issue. And this is something that we humans are really bad at, to identify or spotting such a syntax error on a configuration file, but something that AI can do really fast. Or let's take another example with a Docker Compose file with very little syntax error, like a minor configuration mistake, which may be hard to catch. So you just ask AI to identify where the error is, saying, I'm getting this following error when running the Docker Compose file. Here's the Docker Compose. What is the issue and how to fix it? Now, in the same way, if you get more complex issues, like in Jenkins pipeline logs, you can also use AI. These are more complex custom use cases. So in this case, you will need to provide more details to explain the exact configuration that you have done and provide various files and code configuration to the AI, and of course, copy and paste the error itself. This way, AI will have the full context needed, which are the scripts, the CI/CD file, the YAML files, maybe a Terraform script file, the error that you are getting, and also what the expected outcome is. And with all this information, it can either give you the solution directly or at least guide you specifically through the troubleshooting steps, which leads me to another usage. Let's say while troubleshooting an error in a complex setup project, you identify that you don't really understand some tools involved, which prevents you from knowing how to debug those tools. Like which parts to check, which configuration to validate, where's the configuration even defined, and so on. For example, let's say you didn't understand the Terraform modules concept properly, or Kubernetes network configuration part. So now you have trouble debugging those elements. You don't know where to start, you don't know what to check, and how to do it. So here, what you do is you ask AI to tell you exactly what and how to debug. Because if you ask AI directly, this is the error I'm getting, what is the issue? AI may give you a generic solution because the root cause of the error could be actually a lot of different configuration mistakes. But if you give it enough context, as I mentioned before, all the configuration that you have done so far, all your configuration files, and so on, and then ask the question, it will give you more custom and specific response. So logically, the more info you give it, the more accurate the reply will be to your specific request. So if you ask AI, specifically, how do I debug this issue? What do I check in which order and how? And give all this context that you have with the configuration that you have made up until now, AI will give you detailed steps of what to debug, what commands to execute, which parts of the system to check, and how to do it. So step by step, you can turn each stone to see where the issue is in your complex system. And this process alone can teach you a lot about the tools that you are debugging. Now, talking about learning more about the tools that you are troubleshooting and working with. As I said, sometimes we might face a complex topic that we don't fully understand the concepts behind, or a complex tool like Kubernetes. And let's say you didn't fully grasp the concept of storage classes in Kubernetes. Like, how do you provision storage with different backends? How does all that happen in the background? So you can ask an AI to dive deeper into the topic. If you have specific details that you don't understand, make sure to add those in the prompt in your question to get more specific answers to those details. For example, you can ask, explain Kubernetes storage classes in simple words. I understand they are used to provision storage dynamically, but I don't fully understand how it works. Do I need to set up any additional resources? How is the storage backend created exactly? Give me details with specific examples. And here you can dig deeper with follow-up questions, zooming into the parts that you want to know more about. The fact that you have to think about what to ask and to formulate what you don't understand exactly will actually help you process your knowledge much better. And having this type of more logical knowledge will also help you ask better questions to AI when you're troubleshooting. And again, often with AI tools, the quality of output depends on the quality of input, which are your questions, also called prompts. So this is in a nutshell how to use AI for troubleshooting and some very simple but powerful use cases of how to leverage AI for learning, but also working with DevOps tools. I hope this was useful. Thanks for your time and see you in the next one.